I remember my first fatality wreck. It was about 20 years ago. I was in my early 20s and I decided that I wanted to be a firefighter. So, like a lot of guys, I joined my local fire department, volunteer. We trained weekly and we responded to all your normal kind of emergencies like house fires and grass fires and even cats and trees. But we also responded to wrecks. Now, like most people, when we see a wreck, it's human nature to want to see what happened. Was anybody hurt? How bad was it? Was the damage real bad? It's like we can't help it. And as a young firefighter, you want to see it all. You hear all the seasoned firefighters tell their stories of things that they've done and seen, and you're eager to have your own stories. So when the tones went off and the phrase MVA rollover with ejection came across the radio, my pulse pounded and the adrenaline rushed through my system. Now, MVA stands for motor vehicle accident. So once we arrived on the scene, there were a lot of lights and sirens everywhere. It was late spring, so the evenings were still kind of cool, but this evening seemed really hot. Or maybe it was just me experiencing the rush of it all. It was in a sweeping curve on a stretch of county road where people drive really fast. And as I approached the scene, I could see the car at the bottom of this deep ditch. It was upright and it had blood smeared down the side. And I remember the car was white. There was also a lot of yelling and screaming. Then I heard that there was a woman under the vehicle. But when I looked at the car, it was sitting flat on the ground. So I knew that could only mean one thing. So I got on my hands and knees and I looked under the vehicle, and there she was. I could see her blonde hair. I could see her pale face and skin, and just she had a lifeless look. And I couldn't turn away. I then heard some guys saying that the other occupant was her son and that he was sitting up next to the ambulance. They said he was drunk and he couldn't remember who all was in the vehicle. They said that he told them maybe there was a baby in the car. So my heart sank. My chief, he assigned me and a few other guys the task of searching the tree line and the weeds to look for a child that maybe had been thrown from the vehicle also. I prayed over and over again that that would be the last thing that we would find. And luckily, we didn't. I looked up the hill and I could see him sitting on the side of the ambulance, kind of a side door. We call it the wheel well. And he's just sitting there. My mind immediately went to my wife, then to my mom, and then to my sister. How could he just sit there knowing his mom was 50 feet away, stuck under that car? No one was holding him down. No one was standing in front of him trying to stop him. Why wasn't he down here trying with all his might to lift the car off of her? I just couldn't understand it. By this point, we had a big scene. There were lights set up and people everywhere. We were having to wait for another fire engine to get there to bring some airbags to try to lift the vehicle off of her. And things slow down when it becomes recovery versus a rescue. So I had time to think. And on your first scene like this, that can be a bad thing. I kept thinking, what if that was my wife? What if that was my mom? What if that was my sister? Nothing could stop me from coming down here and trying to get to her. I couldn't stop looking at that woman just lying there, lifeless and still. And then in that moment, I said to myself, if this is what you want to do for a living, you can't let this become personal. You have a job to do, and she can't help herself anymore. And just like that, the switch turned off. And I can't say that being able to turn off your emotions has always suited me well in my personal life, but in my professional life, it's been my saving grace more than a few times. In my line of work as a firefighter and an EMT, we see people on their worst days. These are dads, moms, family members, friends, senior citizens, and unfortunately sometimes children also. People call us when they don't know anyone else to call. And in many cases, we are the last resort. So we have to show up and be ready to fix a problem that no one else can fix. There's a saying in the first responder world that goes, when everyone is running out, we run in. And this is true, and it can be scary at times. But you just have to grab your gear, put on your poker face, and go to work. Thank you.